Hey Wolfpack, today's November 20th, 2019. I'm Elijah Perez.
And I'm Michael Olsen.
And this is your Wolfpack News.
Elijah Perez.
Hunter Bruce.
Jacob Panaski.
Michael Olsen.
Anthony Constantino.
Hey Wolfpack, I'm Jacob Panaski, and this is your national news. NASA has unnecessarily paid Boeing nearly $300 million more than originally planned as part of its program to send astronauts to the International Space Station. NASA's Office of Inspector General found the space agency and Boeing negotiated an additional $287.2 million to prevent any gaps in access to the International Space Station and to keep Boeing on as a contractor. The Inspector General said the additional compensation was unnecessary because there were many other options for providing mission flexibility.
Now time for your sports news with me, Elijah P. Chaos broke out last week as the Browns were up 21-7 with only 11 seconds left in the fourth quarter. When Myles Garrett seemed to lose his mind after what seemed like the last play, Garrett attacked Mason Rudolph continuously, pulling his helmet off until it popped off and then bopped him right on the head. Steelers center Maurkice Pouncey immediately entered the chaos, throwing several punches at Garrett's helmeted head and kicking the Browns defender after DeCastro took him to the ground. Meanwhile, another Browns defensive lineman, Anajanobi, shoved Rudolph back to the ground as he continued to apparently look for the officials' flags. Maurkice Pouncey only got a 3-game suspension, but we won't be seeing Garrett again this 2019-2020 season. We interviewed people around the school to see how they felt on the matter.
All right, after showing you that video, how do you feel about it?
Myles Garrett shouldn't get suspended for the whole year because Rudolph was getting salty for him tackling him. And like, when I tackle people, they don't get salty like that.
You heard it from me. You already know what it is.
As a sports fan, how do you feel about Myles Garrett hitting Mason Rudolph?
Well, it's football, man. Football's an aggressive sport. The way Mason Rudolph started grabbing his helmet, I would have done the same thing. It's an aggressive sport, and it gets physical out there, man.
Do you feel Myles Garrett should be indefinitely suspended?
Nah, it's an aggressive sport. If the dude was grabbing your helmet and trying to rip it off on the ground, I would have picked up the helmet and bopped him in the head too. It's just an aggressive sport. You gotta learn how to deal with it and play, man. Like, that's just the way it is.
You heard it here, folks. Hey everybody, this is the newest edition of the Quarter Mile. I'm Elijah, and today we're covering the El Camino. The El Camino was introduced on October 16, 1958 to compete with Ford's popular Ranchero. When it was introduced, the 1959 El Camino was a combination of several GM cars. The car was based on the Brookwood two-door wagon, the Bel Air exterior, and the Biscayne interior. After the relative success of the Elkie in 1959, it had a rough time in 1960. The previous year, the El Camino sold just over 22,000 units, eclipsing the Ranchero both in 1959 sales and its 1957 debut. Chevy redesigned the El Camino for 1960, but sales plummeted with only 14,000 units sold. Chevy decided to close the books on the El Camino. The El Camino thundered back onto the scene in 1964, riding on the new redesigned a body platform Even though the El Camino originated on the Impala line, it turned out to be a hit based on Chevelle. The redesign in 1973 created the largest El Camino ever produced, coming in at nearly 18 feet long, 6.5 feet wide, and 4.5 feet tall. The public loved this El Camino, and Chevy sold 64,987 units, making the 1973 El Camino the best-selling ever. The fifth and final generation saw a smaller, sleeker El Camino with sharper styling and single headlight design. After the 1984 model year, El Camino production was moved to Mexico, and in 1987, the El Camino was discontinued thanks to an outstanding sales of the Chevrolet S10 pickup. Even though it's no longer in production, the El Camino remains a favorite of car enthusiasts everywhere, including Jesse Pinkman.
Hey Wolfpack, I'm Michael Olson and I'm here with some tragic, unfortunate news. 2 years ago today, on November 15, 2017, we lost the late Little Peep. He was only 21 and he was an American rapper, singer, songwriter, and model. He helped pioneer in the emo revival style of rap and music. He touched many people with his music and got them through some of their hardships. It was on the upcoming when he lost his life, with having much success with his album Come Over When You're Sober, and others such as Hellboy and Crybaby. He had his first posthumous album called Come Over When You Sober Part 2, which also features another great artist that tragically lost his life, creatively known as X. With the 2-year anniversary of his passing, his mother and label have released a second posthumous album and the documentary in theaters titled Everybody's Everything. The documentary is all about the late artist's life, about how he created a unique mix of punk, emo, and trap music, quoting, "Little Peep is set to bring a new musical genre to the mainstream when he dies of a drug overdose at 21 years old."
Hey Wolfpack, I'm Ryan Van Dyke.
Now I'm Ron Witter.
This is your Big Brain Challenge. Which artist has the most albums sold of all time?
It's choice A, Michael Jackson, B, Elvis Presley, C, Queens, or D, the Beatles.
The answer is D. The Beatles have a total of 178 million units sold. Their most sold album is the White Album at 24 million copies.
John Lennon and George Harrison has passed away, while Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney still release new music.
No, that's ignorant. That's ignorant. No.
We had a marvelous time.
Those were good days.
Hey Wolfpack, I'm Hunter Bruce, and this is your joke of the day. Have you heard the rumor about butter? I'm not going to spread it.
That's it for today's broadcast, and remember, if it's news, it's at the Academy.
It sounded very badly. There's a lot of like,
Yeah.